So we're now on to lesson 5, and we're going to be looking at how subtraction is handled when we're using integers. So here we have, write each subtraction equation as an addition equation. So you should have learned by now, throughout this lesson, how to convert from one to the other. And you get to do the cha-cha-cha a bunch of times here. And then, of course, we can also look at how we, solve equations in and of themselves. So the first thing I want to do here is to stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha, because, well, we all know how fun that is. So here we are. We're going to stay. I'm on A right now, so A minus 9 equals 6. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Remember the cha-cha-cha, or you get it wrong. And that, of course, equals 6. So I have A plus negative 9 equals 6. That's an addition problem. And then another couple of ways to do this is that I could take, I'm going to actually show you how I'm doing it here. My original is A minus 9 equals 6. I should know that the opposite of minus 9 is plus 9, so that of course is very helpful. So plus 9 on both sides, because I need to make sure I keep it balanced. These two here cancel. I'm left with A equals, remember, I'm not solving this, I'm leaving it as an expression or a different equation, 6 plus 9. And then, of course, using the commutative property, I can just switch those around and have A equals 9 plus 6. Commutative property up here for this one, I would have negative 9 plus A equals 6. So we have 4 different options here that you could have used. So this was the first one I did right here. That's that one converted. And then I've got this one and this one. 4 different ways to show that very same problem. Let's move on to B. I've got P minus 20 equals negative 30. I'm going to stay, change, change, stay, change, change. Remember, that's also the opposite of the opposite. That's the other way I can think of this, because the opposite of the opposite brings you back to your original. Okay. Then I know when I do the opposite of minus 20, that's plus 20, and I would move that to the other side. So that, of course, would be P equals negative 30 plus 20, because that's the opposite. Keep my equation balanced. I'm going to switch that around. I would have P equals 20 plus negative 30. This one here, if I switch this one around, I'm just going to drop it down to make sure I have enough room to write, would be negative 20 plus P equals negative 30. One, two, three, 4 different ways to write that one. Moving right on to C. I'm going to state, change, change first. So I can stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. I can switch the places of this one, so I'd have 12 plus Z equals 15. That one also works. I also know that I can do the opposite of this. The opposite of minus 12 is plus, the opposite of minus negative 12 is plus negative 12. So I know that that would switch the places, or the sides. So Z would equal 15 plus negative 12. And if I switch the places of those two, I'd have z equals negative 12 plus 15. So again, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 different ways to show that one. And my next one, I'm going to, again, stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. So here I am, stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Still equals negative 10. I can switch those around. 7 plus x equals negative 10. I can, of course, do the opposite. The opposite of minus negative 7 is plus negative 7. So I would have x equals negative 10 plus negative 7. Switch those around. I'd have x equals negative 7 plus negative 10. So again, I've got 4 different ways to show this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Next, I have to find each difference. It does say if I get stuck, I can use the number line diagram, which I'd say, you know what, I'm going to do 2 of these using the number line and 2 of these using the rule. And you can, obviously use either or any of those ways. So using the number line here, I'm going to draw my number line. I know that I've got to start, face, move, end. I'm going to be starting at 9. So I'm going to put my 9 right in the center here because I know that's where I'm going to start. Now, which way am I going to face? It says that I'm subtracting, so that means I face to the left. And it's a positive 4, so therefore I'm going to move forward, which means I'm going in this direction, and I go 4 places. So if I go 4 places, forward, forward, 4, I go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So I would end at 5. So the answer here would be positive 5. Now let's be honest. I'm sure everybody knew that the answer to this was going to be positive 5, because if I have 9 of something and take away 4, I end up with 5. But I do think it's important that we continue to see these on the number line. So let's do this next. I'm going to do B on my number line as well. Okay, so here's my number line. I know that I'm going to be doing start, face, move, end. I'm going to start on 4, so that's going to be at the center of my number line. Okay, so this is where I'm starting. I am subtracting, so I'm going to face left. I've got a positive 9, so that means I'm going to be moving forward 9 places. So forward is in this direction. 9 places is where I would end up. So if I keep going in this direction from my 4, the first thing I know that's going to happen is I'm going to hit 0. So to get from the 4 to the 0, I know that, oh, that is just crazy looking. Make that 0 look better. I know to get from 4 to 0, I know that's 4 places. So of my 9, I've already gone 4 of them. I need to continue to move another 5 places. And that's where I'm going to end up. So if I'm going 5 places to the left of 0, I actually know that's going to be negative 5. So my end point is going to be -5. 4 take away 9 is -5. Now these last two I'm going to use my rule because of course I like to sing, and we know we get to sing math songs here. So I'm subtracting, so I get to stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. So stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. I've got a simple addition problem here. 9 plus 4 more, you should know, is 13, positive 13. So if you're someone who did these on the number line, hopefully you had the answer of positive 13. And same and above, the ones that I did on the number line, if you did those using the rule, you should still have gotten the same correct answers. Okay, my last one here. I'm going to stay, change, change, and cha-cha-cha. Woohoo! So stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. And now I get to, because I'm adding, and it's not just straight out like it was the last one, I get to sing this song. If the signs are the same, find the sum. They are not the same. If the signs are different, find the difference. So that's what I'm going to be doing because the signs are now different, and I'm finding the difference. What I'm going to be finding the difference of, however, is the absolute values of both of these numbers. The absolute value of -9, in other words, how far away from 0, would be 9. And the absolute value of positive 4 is 4. Again, how far is it from 0? That's what absolute value means. Finding the difference, so I can do 9 minus 4. I know that gives me 5. And then I take the sign from the larger absolute value. So I look here, the larger absolute value would be 9. So therefore, I take the sign from the 9 before I took its absolute value. So that would make my final answer -5. Moving right along, I'm continuing to find the difference of these. I think what I'm going to do is these, I guess I'll do the number lines and then the rules again. Easy enough. So my number line, start face, move end. I'm starting at -9, so that's what's going to go in the center of my number line. I am subtracting, so that means I know I'm going to face to the left. I don't like that color. I'm going to face to the left. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't like that color with this background. So here I am starting, and I'm facing to the left. Since I am facing to the left, I have a positive number, I'm going to be moving forward 4 places. Forward would be in this direction. 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where I'm ending up. So again, I'm going in this direction, which means the numbers are getting smaller. So this would be -10, -11, -12, -13 is where I'm going to end up. So I'm ending at -13, which is my final answer. F, the next one I'm going to do is F. I make my number line. I know that I'm going to start face, move and end. Okay, so I'm starting at 4. I'm going to put that right in the middle of my number line. There's 4. I'm going to start here. I am going to face to the left because it is subtraction. Now I'm going to move. My move number is negative, so that tells me to move back 9 places. So back when I'm facing to the left is in this direction. So let's see, I'm at 4 and I'm moving to the right, which means my numbers are getting bigger, 9 places. So if I go in this direction 9 places, that means I'm adding 9, and 4 plus 9 I should know is 13. So my end place, so my answer would be positive 13. Next, I'm going to do these last two using my rule. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. Stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. The signs are different. Find the difference. So here I am with my difference. Got my absolute values. Absolute value of -4 is 4. Absolute value of positive 9 is 9. I'm finding the difference, so that would be 9 minus 4, which would give me 5. The only other thing I need to look at is which of these right here, 4 or 5, or 4 or 9, has the larger absolute value. That would be my 9. If I look up here, the sign of that 9 is positive, so it's positive 5. And my last one over here, stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha, woohoo! And then the signs are the same. Find the sum of those absolute values. Absolute value of -4 is 4. Absolute value of -9 is 9. 4 plus 9 is 13. I go with my originals, and both of them are negative, so my answer is -13. Once more, I don't know how you did them, but whether you use the rule or whether you use the number line, all of your answers should have been the same as mine. Next, we need to find the solution to each one of these equations. It says to do it mentally, but so that you can check your math, and perhaps you didn't even do it mentally, which is fine with me, because I like for things to be accurate. We're going to go ahead and just apply all of our rules here. So 30 plus a equals 40. I want to get a alone. I want to find out what a is equal to. So know the opposite of 30 is negative 30 or minus 30. So I'm going to subtract 30 from both sides. These two cancel. I'm left with a equals 40 minus 30 is 10. That was an easy one. Moving right along to b, I've got 500 plus b equals 200. So the opposite of 500 is minus 500. I subtract 500 on both sides. This one is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be left with b equals 200 minus 500. And I'm going to stay, change, change, cha-cha-cha. And now, of course, my signs are different. Find the difference. So the absolute value of 200 is 200. The absolute value of -500 is 500. I'm finding the difference. That means I do 500 minus 200. I know that that's 300. And now I get to find my sign from the larger absolute value, which is 500. So my sign is going to be negative. So my final answer is -300. Next, I've got -1 plus c equals -2. What's the opposite of -1? Well, obviously that's +1 on both sides. -1 plus 1, they cancel. I'm left with c equals -2 plus 1. The signs are different. Find the difference. Finding the difference. Absolute values. Absolute value of -2 is 2. Absolute value of 1 is 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. However, I do need to go back and see which of these was my larger absolute value. That would be 2. And 2's original sign was negative. So that means my answer is -1. You know what? I'm going to pause for a second and just take a look at this. I know that my final answer has to be 0. In order to get 0 as a final answer, I know that I need to be looking for what the opposite of this is. What's the opposite? The opposite, of course, it's the opposite of 3,567. The opposite of that is -3,567. So I just need to use some logic here because I knew it needed to end at 0. And I've got what D equals. D equals negative 3,567. There we go.